Dear all, I'm very happy to be delivering this short speech for Arsakia Totsisia Schools Model United Nations Conference of 2022. My name is Sotiris Petropoulos. I'm assistant professor at the University of the Peloponnese, and unfortunately, I am not able to join you in person or online. So I wanted to touch upon two very interesting issues that were brought in my attention, and they are part of the discussions that you will be having today. The first one is around the Greater Eurasia Project, which is a very interesting initiative with a lot of dynamism in the last couple of years. It is an initiative that is widely supported by the Russian Federation for several reasons, as I'm going to discuss next. But also it is perceived by several states around Asia and of course Central Asia and a bit of Europe, um, because they see that there are a lot of benefits that can be generated through gradually building up this union, if you like. Now, the Greater Eurasia Project is about bringing together, it's supposed to be and sort of is around bringing together a series of states within a combined very big landmass that consists of Europe and Asia, and especially bringing together a part of Europe that is sort of connected more to the Russian Federation, and on the other hand, a series of states that belong around the sphere of China and in general of East Asia and Central Asia. So the core idea is that by creating, first of all, a more collaborative economic environment among these different states, that a sense of solidarity, of connection, of enhanced interdependence will grow. And this will bring about an additional a process of bringing more together the different states that take part in this very, very large area. Now, from the Russian perspective, we see that there is a strong tendency to enhance the ties of the Russian state with its east neighbors, east region, and a bit to the south, um, especially reinforced since the 2014 incidents of the Russians taking over Crimea from Ukraine. And we see that to a certain degree, this has been also reinforced with the current events with the Russian invasion in Ukraine. It is, in a way, a process of counterbalancing the position of the European Union, as well as in general the West vis-a-vis Russia, and on the other hand, creating a series of stronger channels and stronger ties with countries that are not part of what we call the West, and that still maintain, even today, if not strong ties and very friendly ties, at least neutral ties with Russia, not strongly condemning, for example, the invasion in Ukraine, or even not imposing specific sanctions. Of course, one of the great dimensions, one of the features that one has to take into consideration when thinking about the Greater Eurasia Project is the Eurasian Economic Union as it stands today, which is if you like, a sub-regional, sub-Eurasia project initiative that started around the mid 1990s and that gradually evolved with a great push after the sanctions of Europe and the West and the US towards Russia because of the annexation of Crimea. Um, so we had there more mobility and activity. And since 2014, we see the Eurasian Economic Union becoming a reality. It resembles a bit, at least in terms of the intentions that it has, the European Union. It includes a population of around 185 around million people and around 5 trillion US dollars in GDP, more or less. And that is actually already almost a complete customs union, and that has even acknowledged that it should go further to, for example, establishing a common currency. This hasn't yet been enforced, but this is something that potentially we will see in the future. Also, keeping in mind that most of the member states of the Eurasian Economic Union are, to a certain degree, dependent financially, economically by Russia. Now, on the other hand, the idea of the Greater Eurasia project is also related to connecting the Eurasian Economic Union to all these different organizations or regional initiatives that we have to the east. So, for example, ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, that under the format of ASEAN plus 3 also includes China, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization that has a very specific presence in Central Asia, in a way bringing together different regional cooperation initiatives so that we formulate this greater area of Eurasia. Of course, on the other hand, there are a lot of middle powers around this area that they are tentatively open into discussing further integration of the region. And on the other hand, we also have China, which is still maintaining to have its own projects. It's not against the Greater Eurasia project, but on the other hand, is not 100% on board, especially if they, because they understand that from the part of Russia, which is the second biggest pole in this project, and it was actually proposed by Vladimir Putin. They see both an ally and a collaborator, but also a potential obstacle to the Chinese advancement and growth. So it is something that it is an initiative that we will be discussing in the future, because we see that the isolation of Russia from the West is not allowing much room but to go towards the enhancement of its relationship with all those that they have not condemned what they are doing in Ukraine, not imposing sanctions, and being more open to discuss and to collaborate and to have trade with them and economic relations. And this part of the world mostly is connected with the greater Eurasia region. So I think that if we see, if somebody understands what is going on in the world today, we see a sort of a retreat of economic globalization. We see regions becoming again a rather important feature in both the global economy and global politics. So working more intensively in the regional dimension is something that we are seeing nowadays, and we will see more in the at least in the short term and potentially the medium term. So, because the Greater Eurasia Project creates a framework of cooperation, it's something that, to a certain degree, will be pushed forward, but mainly Russia, and to a certain degree, will be accepted by the different middle-sized countries within this region. And a big question mark is in how um, positive the Chinese government, Xi Jinping, will be in the coming years. Now, a bit connected to that, in a way that it belongs to the same region and it is part of Chinese borders with some of the countries that are involved in the Greater Eurasia Project, is the issue of Uyghur Muslim community, minority actually in China, and what is going on in towards that front. Um, I guess that a lot of you, you're active in international um, issues and have maybe witnessed, read an article or more, and some surveys, etc., and analysis on what is going on with the Uyghur Muslim community in China, and we have seen, what we are seeing as as a intensification of human rights violations. This is how the West sees it, of the Uyghur Muslim community, minority within China. Now, of course, the Chinese, and this is usually what what is their main position when they are controlled over the level of human rights. Um, they say that the issue of the Uyghur Muslim population, the ones that they are actually put into concentration camps and camps, they say that it is an internal issue. This is a core principle in general, highly perceived across the developing world. So it is something that it is within our borders. So please don't mind, and don't judge us about that, and don't actually tell us what to do with our own population. And they also highlight that one of the main reasons why they are doing more or less what they're doing is that these are issues around security and anti-terrorism. Indeed, there have been some incidents in the past of terroristic attacks that have been connected with people that they are coming from this minority. But the cases are not so many in order um, to to give an excuse for more than 1 million. This is the numbers that several researchers, as well as the United Nations, are pointing out, that 1 million among a total population of around 11 million people, that they have been put in camps against their will, in what the Chinese would call a re-education process, in order for them to become less um, uh, well, less likely to become terrorists, and also to support them into finding jobs, etc. Because again, an issue of unemployment exists in the region. Now, of course, when somebody analyzes the issues that we see in that eastern part, western part of China, is of course of how rich that region is, and the fact that it has a sort of autonomy, and how this could create some anxiety in terms of territory control from Beijing. The whole region is a special economic zone, SS, which are specific regions, specific economic zones where we have where the Chinese state has very specific rules related to economic development, to foreign direct investment, attraction, and things like that. The region is very rich in oil and minerals, and it is the number one production site of natural gas in China. And we are talking about a growing economic giant, China, that requires a lot of energy resources that most of them they do not own. A lot of what is going on from in terms of energy resources is actually imported by different parts of the world, the Middle East, Africa, and Russia, of course. And they really need to have control of an area that is the top producer of natural gas because it is a very important um, dimension for both economic growth but also for the Chinese security. So we have a lot of international protests, both in the level of people, but also we have seen the European Union gradually since 2011, 2017, sorry, 2018, becoming more critical of the situation, pushing forward for not sanctions, but actually a sort of putting pressure on the Chinese government to A, reveal what is going on, B, give access for international committees to go to these camps and check on what is going on there. So there is a bit of international pressure. Initially, it wasn't actually joined, this pressure group, by the United States of America, where the previous president, Mr. Donald Trump, was a bit cautious. In the very end, it actually also highlighted the issue. But of course, the trade agenda is much more important for a lot of the parts of the world than what is going on in a Western part within inner China. From the part of international organizations, again, the issue has been revealed and discussed, but there we see a lot of the times that the Chinese government has the ability to mobilize other countries, even Muslim countries, such as, for example, Saudi Arabia, in order to take a positive stance vis-a-vis Beijing and not to condemn what is going on in the case of the Uyghur Muslim minority. So it is an issue that seems to be going on for a couple of years. We are not recording, we don't see any signs of the Chinese government stepping down. And based on all the data that we have and all the trends that we see into enhancing overall control of the Chinese government over the whole population, it is a not very promising field. And it could be the case that it is one of the main issues that will create a lot of barriers into enhancing the relationships between China and the West, and especially China and the European Union. I hope this, well, a bit of information on the two issues are helpful to your discussions and all the activities that will follow. And I wish you a very productive continuation of the work of the United Nations Conference, the Model United Nations Conference 2022. Thank you very much.